Since I enjoyed it so much last time, I've went and compiled a list of DC villains I've never heard of. And because I'm a fan of the comics, I had to dig extra hard, coming through every file possible to find the weirdest and most obscure villains out there. And ladies and gentlemen, I found some. The one I want to discuss today is a Batman villain from 1966. Meet Lenny Fiasco, better known by his villain name, the Eraser. As you can see, the first thing that drew me to him was the design. His costume resembles a number 2 pencil, all the way down to the eraser head, or all the way up. Sure, it's a little stupid, but I also really love it. Like I said earlier though, the Eraser first appeared in 1966 in Batman issue 188. In this comic, we learned that Lenny Fiasco here was in fact a college classmate of Bruce Wayne, the big man himself. And he has a sort of bitterness about his college days because he was continuously mocked by his fellow students for perpetually making mistakes in class. People who remembered back to their college days with Lenny always pictured him with an eraser in his hand because he was always correcting his mistakes. We find out the only girl he ever loved was Celia Smith, a fellow girl in the class. And when he finally works up the courage to take her to a date to the school's ice carnival, Lenny ends up devastated when she instead decides to go with the rich, handsome orphan Bruce Wayne. Feeling rightfully embarrassed and pushed to the point of no return, he turned to the streets and entered into the life of crime. It's terrible, truly. Bro had no riz and no aura, so understandably he hates the man that has it all. It's a tale as old as time. Back to the story though. Lenny turned to a life of crime and developed his iconic eraser costume that allowed him to eliminate all evidence from a crime scene. He worked with small-time criminals throughout Gotham City, advertising himself as the Eraser and the secret underground. And because he did such a good job, the police were pissed at the lack of clues. There was like a series of bank robberies that were committed and there was no evidence pointing to any suspect. Left with no choice, of course, they called on the Dark Knight, who, for whatever reason, disguised himself as an organ grinder, whatever that is, and hired the Eraser for a staged robbery. It was a shit disguise though, because the Eraser immediately recognized Bruce, and in his villain monologue, he revealed that he became a criminal because Big Daddy Bruce shattered his dreams of going out with Celia. In a stone cold player move though, Bruce says he don't even remember Celia. And the Eraser ends up so pissed that he knocks out Bruce with sleeping gas. Bruce later wakes up in the Eraser's headquarters, and listen to this shit. The Eraser was so fucked up about the night Bruce took his girl that he constructed a 1-to-1 recreation of the college ice carnival. Robin then arrives to the scene and distracts the Eraser long enough for Bruce to change into his Batman identity. Batman beats the brakes off the Eraser and sends him to the slammer. So all of that shit was for nothing, and on top of that, Batman shows up to the jail, gifting Lenny a giant eraser, and advises him to get his shit together and erase his old life and start fresh. That's some stone cold shit from the Bats. You're gonna steal his girl, then not even remember her name, then beat my boy's ass, then throw him in jail and visit him just to crack a joke. Honestly, I don't blame the guy. He became a villain for all the right reasons, and I'm kinda on his side. He doesn't have your usual tragic backstory, he's instead got a pathetic one, but you know, they can't all be bangers. At least he's got a decent connection to Batman, and it makes sense, and he's got some motivation. The thing I like is that he never targeted Bruce Wayne until Bruce was right in front of him. He didn't become a villain to hurt Bruce specifically, but instead through circumstance, he got involved in a world of crime. I also really love his design. The Eraser aesthetic is kinda cheesy, but this is a comic book, so you gotta let stuff like that slide. He looks like a Rick and Morty character, and that's what I love. The Eraser helmet is very unique, and his suit is saucy. It's also a great time to mention this man has no powers at all, like none. I found out that his Eraser helmet is treated with like a special chemical compound that erases traces of forensic evidence. All that is well and good. I mean, a lot of Silver Age villains relied on tech instead of powers, and personally, I like that more sometimes. DC, however, loves to change things up whenever the opportunity arises. After they revamped the DC Universe after the Flashpoint story, they started with the New 52 line of comics in 2011. Then in 2014, they launched their Rebirth series, and that's where we see the Eraser back in action. Unfortunately, here, his iconic costume is gone, and he has this yellow sweater resembling that pencil pattern. Also, his normal guy head is gone, and now it looks like this. I hate this shit, and it looks like it hurts. In the beginning of this story, we find out Batman is chasing him down after a crime he's committed. It's here where they change things big time. No longer is he a tech genius, instead, he's a metahuman that can erase three-dimensional objects with his hands and his head. Apparently, he erased the new boyfriend of his ex-wife, and I don't know the history between them, so he might be innocent, who knows. Batman doesn't think so though, and kicks the shit out of him and sprays his hands and head with some kind of solution. I'm guessing this stuff stops him from coming into direct contact with someone, rendering his powers useless. The Eraser yells at Batman, and Batman yells right back, and unfortunately, that's it. A 2-page panel where he immediately gets apprehended. He doesn't even feel like a villain here, he feels like a tragic character that Batman has to catch occasionally, Like that scene in the animated show where Flash shows up and picks up his old villain. But here, they gave him terrifying superpowers, then just used them as a joke. But that's nothing new. Those panels marked his last big appearance in the Batman comic. He's had like minor cameos in a few comics with little to no speaking roles, and he made one appearance in Batman the Brave and the Bold. Unfortunately, every villain can't be center stage, and a lot of them get thrown to the wayside. I just feel like the Eraser has a real good shot to be interesting if written the right way. I mean, he literally erases clues, and his main antagonist is the best detective in the world. That's a great story right there, and I could see him being a villain in the Matt Reeves Batman universe, where they really lean into Batman's detective prowess. But ultimately, I just don't think his goofy nature with the eraser head and the pencil suit would fit the serious tone of that universe. But you know who does love goofy characters and is now in charge of the DC cinematic universe? James Gunn. And if anyone could pull this character out of the archives, it's him. He has yet to establish his own version of Batman, so it's the perfect opportunity for the Eraser to return. If you saw my last Forgotten DC villain video, then you know he brought back Egg Fu for a cameo, and I thought that would never happen. I just hope to see more obscure characters step into the spotlight, because they seem to do very well. Audiences enjoy seeing new characters, and James Gunn himself has a knack for making us love them. So, here's to seeing the Eraser on the big screen at some point. Shit, put him in an animated show at least. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this brief history of another forgotten villain, and I hope you learned something new about comics. I have a list of forgotten characters now, so stay tuned for more, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.